Hello everyone and welcome to this final part of your multidimensional self. I'm Athena Melchizedek and I would like to invite you to come to a comfortable seated position, just bringing yourself into full presence with a few deep breaths, settling down, turning off any distractions and opening yourself up to receive this transmission. So this is part 3, the final part of this 3-part series, the path inward. And so we begin to look at the steps on the path. And the first step is the realization that all external change must first happen within. This is where we began this series, actually. I'm trusting that by now you will understand the truth of that and meaning of that statement. We must work from the inside out. It's the only way that we actually can change our external experience of reality. So the first step is all about transmutation. And what does that mean? This is all about the work that we have to do to find and then to dissolve all low frequency energy of the lower dimensions of our being. When I speak of the lower dimensions, I'm speaking of the physical, the mental, and the emotional bodies, the first 3 chakra points of the energy body, including the physical body. So the idea is to dissolve all low frequency energy present in these first layers of our being and transmute their particle content into the next dimensional frequency band. If you remember, we consist of different bands of frequency. Our energy body and our physical body represent all different bands of frequencies that we're existent in all at the same time. So this lower level of our being is all about our physical existence, our thoughts and intentions, and our feelings and emotions. So this is where we have to do the deep inner work of exploration to find whatever is causing anything that we experience in our external reality and our physical body as suffering or discomfort. Because these are the signs that there is distortion in our energy field and in our consciousness. And so we're required to go really deeply on a journey right into the deepest part of our being, the deepest part of our unconscious mind and our conscious mind. Very often we're consciously aware of things that we prefer to resist and we prefer to forget because they are inconvenient. So this is the process of deep inner exploration and bringing in new energy, new higher frequency energy into the lower frequency bands. so we can create change within those parts of our being. This is how matter and consciousness is raised and progressively moves from one dimension to another. This is what we call our evolutionary process. It's very natural. And what we're doing ultimately is bringing more and more light into our system. So the journey becomes the journey to our enlightenment. This is simply what enlightenment means. It means bringing in more information, more light into all the different dimensions of our being. And when we do that, we transmute the energy that is existent there in the very lower levels. The next step is the step of transformation. So as our consciousness moves through space and time, the results of our experiences transform us on multiple levels simultaneously, passing from one stage into another in an eternal cycle. In these cycles, there is no death, only transformations of the energy form into another form. As consciousness moves throughout the timelines in a perpetual state of death and rebirth. So we can see that even at our physical level, when we change our thinking, when we change our emotional reactions, when we come out of pain and suffering, our behaviors change, our physical body changes. We come out of dis-ease, which is always caused at some level by how distorted our thoughts and feelings that are buried in the unconscious are. So for the purposes of our growth, we can encounter many situations and events that will constantly evolve and change us. And as these situations end, transformation occurs in which new situations will then take their place. All of the experiences we have, the change and transformation that we have endured, is intelligent consciousness information and acquired knowledge that we will take with us wherever we go, and we will take with us into the next level of transformation. It's an ongoing process. So I want to talk a little bit about ego death. This occurs when the false identity and old way of thinking dies and a new aspect of ourselves is reborn. So this is happening now to many, many people all over this planet, just in a very organic way, when they realize that the old ways of thinking aren't true. Much is being revealed that it is now truth, that perhaps we have thought that differently about in the past. And when an ego death occurs in our own being, this is when we realize that who we thought we were and what we identified with and situations that we identified with are no longer valid. Things begin to break down. We might lose a job, we might lose a loved one, change is inevitable. But we create a false identity through the defenses that we use to keep the old in place. We create this false identity, an image of ourselves that we think we need to be. And what we're seeing in the world now is the breakdown of many, many different belief systems, the breakdown of many different structures, and the incoming of truth. And this is happening collectively now, and it's happening to us as individuals. And it is part of the spiritual process of evolution and growth. Because when the old gives way, there's space for the new to be reborn. And I use the word reborn because actually what is happening is the true self that we are, this is at the individual level, is the true essence of God source that we are, that we may have forgotten or pushed to one side or preferred not to even think about. But this is what is longing to come through us, but is prevented to come through because of all the distortions that we have created through our incorrect thinking and our emotional reactions and our polarization and the false identities that we've created for ourselves. So in many ways, this is an extremely exciting time. It doesn't have to be painful. It's only painful when we resist. Because we resist because we're afraid. And we need to step out of fear and realize that we're just actually in a process of being renewed into a new state. So through every transformative event, we're elevating ourselves towards achieving liberation and transcendence. And we move through various portals of change and transformation throughout our lives. So transfiguration means the burning away of the shadow forms of the lower centers of our being. If you remember the image of the different levels and different dimensional frequencies that we exist in, from 1 right the way through to 12. So the burning away of the shadow forms in these lower centers, the physical body, the mental body, the emotional body. And what happens, the shadow forms start to rise in our body to be consumed by the light, by the solar light. And by that I mean the light of our soul that has carried them into this existence so that it can do this work. And new levels of intracellular light illuminate the lower shadow body reflections. And we're able to sense them when we could not sense them before. They come out into the light. And sometimes we need help. Sometimes we need professional help to do this. It's hard to do this work alone. So these shadows and distortions arise from the cellular memory in the body. And generally, we can perceive where these shadows and distortions are because usually there's a specific area of the body that we will feel some kind of discomfort. This is if we can feel it in the physical body. Not all of these distortions we can feel physically. Some are in the mental body, some are in the emotional body, some are in the spiritual body. But this is how disease is created, through the distortions, our distorted thinking, our distorted feelings, our emotional reactions. Eventually, we do something long enough and hard enough, and it creates disease within the physical body. So we witness the shadow rising and all of the negative emotions and pain that are associated with it in our memories, identities, and timelines. So these distortions exist within the different timelines, the different dimensional frequencies. I can vouch for the truth of this because I have done much work. This is much personal work on finding these pieces in the different timelines and going right back into history to find the first key piece. So this is something we learn how to embrace and not to fear. This is the most important point. We don't have to be fearful about this work. What's rising to the surface is showing us exactly where we need to heal. And healing simply means bringing into wholeness. It means integrating that piece of distortion into our full expression in an integrated and whole way, and positive way as opposed to a negative way. So the shadow highlights weakness in our energy body that needs to be strengthened through dedication and devotion. And our own inner light presence really can be called upon to help this process. So it allows the body to serve as a vessel for embodied light. The whole process is about bringing more light into our system. And this facilitates intelligent transmission of light then into our environment and to others and to help others in some capacity. The internal light informs the seeker's mind of the direct existence and experience of unity consciousness. This is our ultimate aim. So transfiguration brings knowledge that can never be undone. What the person does with that knowledge will remain their choice as we stand at the crossroads in the realm of the unknown. The current knowledge we have been given is undergoing integration with our cellular body. We come to realize in the future that this was a major milestone that was required for our continuing ability to expand into unity consciousness. So the next stage is we expand our consciousness and clear karmic wounds and traumas from the system. When we do this, the spirit body or the monad is able to descend further and further into our physical body, and it actually absorbs the soul body eventually. What happens is, if you remember the diagram, there are 7 chakras, which many are familiar with. So what happens is the crown chakra actualizes and creates a unified chakra column within the physical body. So they all join together. They all become connected. At the high heart, which is the 8th chakra, and that's at the thymus, just at the 2 fingers below the clavicle, we start to become aware of our monadic body or spirit body. And this is the awareness of our connection to our oversoul or soul extensions, our soul family. We then activate the medulla oblongata, the chakra that exists there, the 9th chakra, and we begin to have remembrance of our galactic selves. Possible remembrance. It doesn't happen for everyone, but when this is activated, this dimension of our being is activated, it is possible for us to have those memories. So monadic absorption is when the spirit takes over the soul. It establishes itself as an observer and compassionate witness as it becomes supported by the inner light of the developing unity consciousness within. And this really results in a perpetual state of compassion and loving peacefulness, a peaceful heart, forgiving. We feel deep empathy and compassion for ourselves and for all others. It's the highest potential of a life experience and a feeling deep sensory emotion within. It's a deep feeling within us. It's the way we feel our connection to our Creator. So let us just take a look at what unity consciousness is. The law of one is the comprehension that all things are made of intelligent energy and are a part of the all one. It's the sacred science of the mechanics of unity consciousness and is the natural law, our universal, that governs our universal connection and creation. All one is the recognition that eternal truth is eternal love, and eternal love is the organic consciousness of the infinite Creator, or God, or Source, whatever is your terminology. Eternal love consciousness is embodied in a form and is simultaneously recognized as the inner light of the Christ. Now, this does not have a religious connotation here. The Christ of which I speak is a consciousness field. It's the field of Christ consciousness, which is a much, much bigger field of energy than just one being. So unity consciousness is being at one with God and Source, and it ignites the inner Christ, the Christed being that we all are. So when actualized in human form, this inner light is the embodiment of an eternal God human. And here are some examples. You have Kuan Yin, a female example, female goddess. Of the Buddhic lineage, Kuan Yin, and then on the right we have a living master, Satguru. So the practice of unity consciousness and oneness is directly reflecting the image of the Creator's love, and it's eternally protected. It's the truth that was taught by Christ, by Yeshua, when he proclaimed, "Love your neighbor as yourself." We are all direct expressions of the one source. And this promotes self-responsibility, self-accountability in our universal time-space matrix through the comprehension of the energetic interconnection that exists between all living things. So the law of one expresses and acknowledges the interconnection, the value and interdependence of the spirit and consciousness that animates all living things, all sentient life. Your awareness is multidimensional. And encompasses the oneness of all life. When this occurs for you and you are imbued with unity consciousness, then the superpowers or the siddhis really start to activate and fully come online. And we consider them superpowers, or some people consider them superpowers, but in actual fact, they're very natural and organic ways of being. It's just that we have extended all our 5 physical senses into extended seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, touch. Everything becomes heightened. We may travel in the different dimensions. We may bilocate into different physical spaces. All manner of things becomes possible. And this is why it is such an incredible experience, and one that we all can aspire to. But most importantly, we literally become a beacon in the dark for others to see, until they realize all is one, and that we are merely a reflection of them. And so I leave you with that sentiment, and thank you so much for persevering with all of this content. I hope it has been useful. I hope it brings light into your being. I trust that you have found some of this information useful, and that you have been able to take it in where and when it was necessary. So thank you so much. It's been my great honor and pleasure to present these 3 presentations, and I hope I will see you and be with you all very soon. Goodbye for now.